Hey, it's your favorite Bafana podcast. It's the DNA. That is Dr. and Andile. Doctor's here. He's got the funk. Welcome to it. 2 games to discuss.
Yeah.
Bafana playing against Andorra as well as Algeria. 2 different teams on a different trajectory. You've got Andorra ranked 164th in the world, right? Not a great team by any measure as far as a footballing nation is concerned. They are a European country, but don't have the European pedigree of their neighbors, Portugal, Spain, Germany, Italy, etc. That was the first game Bafana played. The second one, Algeria. So we'll get into both games. We'll take a look at some of the players that were chosen and used and picked by the coach, Hugo Broos. But firstly, let me greet the legend. He's a GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. No South African player ever has done what he's been able to do with a soccer ball. He remains as the best to ever do it. Former Columbus Crew, Kaiser Chiefs, and Bafana number 15, Dr. Khumalo. Doc?
Eta?
Okay.
I'm great, Doctor.
Bafana Babuile, no?
Yeah.
From AFCON.
AFCON,
And
yeah.
we're all going on about how well they've done. You know, it was a big deal. They've got 2 games now. People are sold, but not quite convinced yet.
Yeah.
Talk to me about post the thrill, because Mandin Sugai,
Yeah.
and now you must come back and play games.
Yes.
Bafana, 2 games, friendlies.
I think the plan was spot on because they coming from a high intense tournament with so-called, or should I say, 3rd position, which was not bad at all. They made us proud. Their first game was against Andorra. Like you alluded to the fact that Bangali were 160 something. But also you need to take in cognizance in terms of what their last win was in 2022. So now let me unpack in terms of the reasoning behind probably Andorra and then Algeria. Now, before, we were complaining to say, South Africa, we keep on saying, we're going back to the drawing board. We're developing. Now it's time to progress. And this is exactly these games are all about, to progress. Do we have players that can be candidates for us to progress? Yes, we saw some individual giving us what we wanted to see against Andorra and against Algeria. Now, when you look at the game in Andorra, it was players with first caps.
I mean,
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
It's first caps.
and it's not players that are playing in top leagues in the world. If you look at their ranking, Bahleli Nabo Fiji, Belarus, Mauritania, she was, that's the caliber of country as far as footballing pedigree is concerned.
Yeah.
But then, Doggy, if that's the case, I expect there to be a difference between watching a Bafana playing Andorra. I expected a win from that. I expected a conclusive win.
I know that kind of a win you're expecting, it's the goals. But the win that personally I have, it's the personal on the field. That's the win that we have as South Africa. This is my own opinion because I can expand and give explanation to what I'm saying. Now, when we played the AFCON, we had the likes of Kekane, Peranomvala. Now, Andorra with Sibisi and Koki. Now, the AFCON, they come from Sundowns. The 2 against Andorra, they come from Pirates. And how comfortable they were. The social factor, they understood each other. The build-up attack, it's everything that we did with AFCON, it was a replica when we played Andorra. Because when we're building, besiqala la ngoXhoki or ngoSibisi bavule, and which is our DNA. And that for me, it was a win. Now you go to your right.
Before you go there, Doug, why is Hugo Broos changing what worked? Because we're looking at the squad that he chose for AFCON.
Yeah.
Why is he bringing new players? Why is he experimenting still? shouldn't it be that he's got his 11,
Yeah.
he's got his 18, and potentially he's 23 as well from the players that were injured or unable to make it? Why do you think he's still picking players? He's still trying out players. We're still seeing players infiltrating and getting into this core.
There's what we call footballing problems. And if you don't have a pool of players, you'll have a problem. This is what he learned from his past. Now, he's coming now out of this shell to say, hey, let me do better. Now, he's giving those he has seen, go AFCON, a break. Now, he wants to see the players that he hasn't seen them before. I mean, for the national team, yes, he might have seen them for club level. But now he wants a pool of players because this will give him an ample time to plan for the upcoming AFCON, World Cup, and we have Nigeria, we have Zimbabwe. Now, what if, for example, God forbid, one of our best players, for example, Mshishi, is not available against Nigeria? It's not time for us to panic 3 days before the game. Now, these are the games that gave the coach an idea, which, if Percy won't make it, I've got Mkwana. You know? On the right-hand side, if Morena is not going to be, I've got Mbanjwa. Mshishi is not there, Mashangai, Tito. So this is what it's all about. Hence, he has to have a pool of players that even those who are left at home can be easy for him to go to Abatole and bring them to the national team. Because you must understand, for a team to click, to have a social factor on the field, it takes 5 years. And it's even worse for a national team because Bashangana once after 3 months, after 6 months, after 9 months. And this is the only time Beganayo to have a look at the players that he wanted to see. And I would like to believe he won.
Let's talk about the team that
we drew the game, but the coach won.
In what he learned.
He saw the players that, now I've got potential there. Because remember, the building of, or maybe adding, it doesn't happen based on the club level performance. It has to be international because some players, they are very good when they play club level. When you bring them internationally, they choke. And I can give you examples, but this is not the platform for that.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
It was a learning.
Yeah.
It was an expedition.
Yeah.
Not a learning of what we're building. No.
No.
An expedition to say, let's learn who else it is that's available.
Yes, definitely.
Speaking of which, I'm going to give you the 11 against Andorra.
Andorra, yeah.
You had Goss in goal.
Of course.
Then you had a backline of 4, Mashego, Oki, Sibisi, and Moren.
Yeah.
What did you make of those 5?
Like I said, I alluded to the pairing
of Sibisi
because the Shiku and Morena were part of the AFCON.
Yeah.
But I liked what I saw in Oki and Sibisi. They were comfortable. They were not choking. This is exactly what the coach wanted. Because if a Grand Kekane gets a red card and he can't play in the upcoming game against Nigeria, who's going to replace him?
Mvala, who gets injured.
Mvala that gets it. Mvala, no. Uyapandisha Mvala kaphuma. No, Mvala kahambi. Mvala yisotsho Mvala. Mvala udlala ikhanda limele balistitshile. I'm telling you, mhlawumbe kunala azodlala ilihleli one lingasaboni. And this is the player that has South Africa like.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm talking about. We need players that understand where this country coming from. We come from humble beginnings. We've been depressed. We've been deprived. There's so much that happened. And the current crop cannot just walk into the park as if City Siakela represent. No. People of South Africa suffered. Our forefathers suffered. We've got stallions, icons of the political industry, in the political arena, that made it a point that we go back to international standards. Now that they need to take into cognizance in terms of understanding what does it take to wear that South African jersey. Ngoba linegazi. ngoba kunobuhlungu kulo kunento eziningi ekulula jezi. You understand? So players need to understand that when you walk in on that field, it's not about you or your family or your friends.
The first goal we conceded was a mistake.
Yeah.
Goss in goals.
Yes.
You know, Bafana, South African football led by Sundowns and a lot of other teams now. But world football now says goalkeepers must be comfortable on their feet, must be able to play out because that's the sort of game we play. Goss makes that mistake. Your thoughts on his mistake, but also just overall?
Yeah. I don't want to believe that he planned it.
Of course not, yeah.
He didn't dream about it. Those are footballing problems. It occurs. Somebody give a penalty to a miss. Somebody mnigisi sharp as weapon. It's the same.
Somebody causes a penalty.
Causes a penalty, scores an own goal for that matter. But you can't crucify a player based on that. Now, this is the time where now you need to show leadership because he has made a mistake. In a computer, he has a mistake. So he has made a silly and costly mistake. But you don't destroy the spirit that he has and the big heart that he has. You pat him on the back and say, it happens, boy, but you need to focus and pick it up.
But then where do you rank him when you look at the fact that you've got a Williams who, that's his jersey, number one jersey, that's his. There's no communication, there's no conversation to be had there. But then you've got Goss, you've got Bruce Vuma, you've got who wasn't even part of the squad. You've got Uveli Motwa as well.
Yeah.
You know, who's your 2 and your 3 there?
I'll go for Goss.
As your second in command?
Second in command.
Okay.
Based on his performance at Supersport. I never thought Goss is exactly as Williams when it comes to penalty shootout. That you need to give it to him. Why do we have to praise Williams when he does that? And we can't praise Goss. He's the reason why Supersport advanced in the net bank.
It's good at stopping penalties.
And it's good stopping penalties, you know. And that's a silly mistake, but a costly one. So I personally would say Goss at the moment, he's the second best because Eveli, who is a very passionate individual, a very keeper that we can also rally for him. He did well in the Kosafa and he gave us a Kosafa, you remember?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we can't depend on history. We depend on current.
He's not playing.
He's not playing. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
He's not playing. And we don't know why he's not playing. So Goss is playing at Supersport. Mbavuma is playing at Kaizer Chiefs. But Mbavuma probably is 4th, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm coming in there to take that position because he's doing very well at Kaizer Chiefs as young as he was. I don't know what would have happened if he was given ample time to play. Probably would have seen something else.
At Chiefs.
At Chiefs, yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. At Chiefs. Would have seen a Bavuma that is 120% ready, you know, and confident. Now he's actually out there. He's got a game temperamental. He can advise. He can marshal at the back, you know, things that he never used to do. So hence I'm saying Hugo has won.
Yeah.
He has won. But I know it's a draw, but he has won because now he brought in Mbavuma. Because remember, certain players, you don't rob them in to play them, but just for them to be in the scenario, your national team, for them to see how does it look like, the feel, understanding what are the other players from other teams like, you know. So that social factor builds a player. When he goes back, when you bring him back in the second time or third time, now you have a complete player. Because he understands what does it take for one to be in the national team.
Wow. That we're secured as far as keepers are concerned. You remember for a long time, especially when Hugo Bruce started, there weren't enough South African goalkeepers who were doing well. So now we've got that sorted. Let's move on to the middle of the park.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of talkability around Munare.
Okay.
He was captain against Andorra. He was a late call-up even. He hadn't played for Orlando Pirates since his full 90 minutes. His last game was against Chiefs in November. I think 11th of November, in fact, or 15th of November was the last game that he played. He hasn't been playing at Orlando Pirates. He's
Pirates.
missed 8 games, I think, between now and the game that he played recently. Yet he's in Bafana and given captain for this match.
You're talking about an individual that is always focused. For him to perform like that, it tells you ukuthi lo mfana lo userious nge-career yakhe. Because he's not playing, but he gives you an A-class performance against Andorra. And when he was given an opportunity in AFCON, he came on. He did made a difference when Sithole was being substituted. You put in Monare. Hence, that's the reason why late call-up. Because uHugo uyazi ukuthi nginesochala. You know, nginesochala and lizoyenza lento engiyifunayo. Now let's look at the goal that Mokoena scored. Where does the pass come from? Monare. It comes from Monare. And mind you, this is a player that is supposed to be a defensive midfielder. But now, because of the social factor that the Mokoenas have, the Monare, you know, they gel. Bayabona man, oh, so if I can go, because remember, I'm a central defender, I'm a central midfielders, or before. You need to be stagnant, pass the ball. But now this boy, I give him credit. For starters, he's wearing number 15. And secondly, you can rely on Lontoso Monare.
And his leadership?
Leadership qualities, he's there.
He's a senior player and he's mid-30s almost.
Opeko Monare, he's not a robust person. He plays a clean game. And he will give you an A+ game in terms of delivery. So I'm not surprised when the coach called him and gave him the armband. But even though he's not a captain at Pirates, but yeah, and even if you meet Monare, you can tell with Isochali, this is a well-groomed player.
2 players that surprised a lot of people in receiving a call-up, number 1, and being in the starting 11, number 2, and in their performance, number 3. Mbanjwa, Mokoena. Yeah, no, those are my 2 other players that impress me. Yeah.
They raise their hands to say, Coach, this coming games, we're raising our hands. If usfuna sikon, let me break down a performance Mbanjwa. Mbanjwa is a very physical individual, wing player. And he gives you wing player. Because sometimes we use what we call playing on the wings. Those are 2 different things.
Yeah.
Get me right. A wing player, that was Mokoena and Mbanjwa. Then we have a tactical approach saying we play on the wings.
Yeah.
So a striker can't peel off to the wing. He's playing on the wings. We see a Morena crossing, he's playing on the wings.
Yeah.
But then with Mokoena and Morena, we're playing with wingers. You understand?
Yeah, Mbanjwa.
Mokoena, no Mbanjwa.
Yeah.
Now we're playing with wingers.
Yeah.
Those are wingers that are put there with 11 and 7. But the difference, we're playing on the wings. Any player can play on the wings. So now Mbanjwa, he's got a positive attitude. And he's not negative. Each and every ball he gets, he goes to you. He challenges the defender. He's trying to maneuver around the defender, which you don't find it. And this boy, he's very physical. He doesn't lose the ball anyhow. And he's so smart in such a way that he draws a foul. When I say he draws a foul, he can see Uguti, he's in a tight situation. He will show you the ball. When you want to touch it, then it's a foul. He draws a foul. But with games coming and probably clued up what is happening in the national team, we have a gem there. And then Mokoena, something else. Also very skillful, good left-footed player. Also positive. He just challenges the opponents. He scores goals. And for that matter, he comes from one of the teams that were doing very well in the past months, which is Sekhukhune.
It's the best performing team in the DStv Premiership.
Sekhukhune, yes. And, I only realize, Oguti, he got to South Africa in a playlist so when I saw Umukwana. I mean, against Andorra, he scores a goal. Against Algeria, from the bench, Uyangena, unfortunately, la Taisha Ulo, Reyners.
Yeah.
And
it's a Reyners goal.
It's a Reyners goal. But to be honest, Umuntu oyenza ukuthi this goal to be scored is Mukwana. So this is why I'm saying it. Hugo Bruce has won. Because now these are the two wing players that he didn't have. He was playing with inverted wingers. A Mudiba going forward, a Morena going forward, a Mudau that has to go and give us the cross that is playing on the wings.
And here's the positive on the Mukwana. Only 24 years old.
Oh, there we go.
Only 24 years old.
Yeah.
15 appearances this season for Sekhukhune in the DStv Premiership. 4 goals, 3 assists.
Wow.
He's a former Platinum City player, in fact, is where he comes from. So there's something there.
That teaches us, let's not look at PSL players only. We need also to go down there and go search deep. Because if we don't have scouts for the national team, then we're making the job of the coach difficult. Because he wouldn't know what is happening down there in the Motsepe Foundation. He wouldn't know. But if he has satellites, he has people that will bring the players to him to say, we have scouted a particular player, from ABC Motsepe, from ABC Foundation, then that's how actually some of these players will be roped in, and then we'll have a pool of players. For example, look at England. They've played Brazil. Some of the players that were part of the camp, they come from the 3rd division.
We need to now go to a player that is possibly has the biggest talkability in South Africa right now. Khanyisa Mayo. 25 years old, 19 games that he's played, 9 goals, 1 assist in the DStv Premiership. This is a player that a lot of people have always felt should be in the squad or should have been made from 21 already. He's finding it difficult to secure his place in Bafana. Rightfully so. You look at who we have up front. I mean, Lebo Mutiba is still injured.
Yeah.
But then you still have him.
Yeah.
You've got Percy Dow.
Yes.
You've got Hlongwane. You've got Lyle Foster, who are all internationals in big leagues. He has an opportunity now. He starts against this Andorra team.
Andile, Mayo, I think, in a period that I personally think it helped his situation. Because when he was not selected, and look at what he did for Cape Town City, his performance actually went a little bit of like 10-20%. And that's when now we started to be like, hey man, why is it that people are thinking good he was supposed to be there before? Because of the performance he gave us against, Cape Town City. But then, let me break down a little bit Mayo. Mayo is going to be an answer to Bruce's problems.
Yeah?
Yes.
How so?
Because he's not a rigid striker.
Okay.
He always tried to peel to the side. And then sometimes he drops into the middle. Now we have a Makgopa who's there. We have a Lyle Foster who's an outright striker. Mutibi, outright striker. Lepasa, outright striker. Same. But Mayo, he's different because...
So he's more like Percy-like.
He's more like Percy-like. So if you want to play with a dummy striker, a Mayo will be the answer for you. Because you can't have in a pool 4 players that play the similar style. Mayo gives a different dimension in terms of game approach. And also, don't forget, Uguti, when he peels up, don't think Uguti is peeling just for the sake of peeling. He can even take on players.
But Doggy, did he do enough in this game for us to say, hey, why is this boy being left out all along?
I would like to believe Guti he did enough.
So Overtaker,
no. Let's not package it like that. Let's not package it like that, because all those guys they got their chances. They were tried and tested. Now the poor boy, we're only judging him game 1, which is not fair. Let's give Mayo ample time for him to settle within the national team. And Mayo is that type of a player. Don't overcoach him. Don't overcoach him. Give him an opportunity to express himself. Because from where I'm seated, that's a type of a player. He will give you something that you never thought of. You know, kuna player that you as a coach, you try up and yes, how did you do that? That's a type of a player, Mayo. But I understand when people are saying he might have not given us what we were looking for. But personally, where I'm seated, we found a diamond, we found a gem in Mayo. Because he's totally different to all the the strikers that you mentioned. That's my take. Football is a game of opinion, and this is my own opinion. And also, a dead ball situation, he's a very good free kick taker. Because remember, the game also can be won from a dead ball situation.
I don't remember the last time I watched Bafana with such excitement. It has to be Africa Cup of Nations against Nigeria. But the game against Algeria, and Algeria is no small team on the continent or in the world. And when you look at where their players play, you knew that we are playing an opposition or an opponent that is on par, unlike having played Andorra, right? But this game, it had a lot of things that reminded me of a lot of things. Number one, you see how Algeria came at us, but it was the fight in Bafana, how they fought for the badge, for themselves, for the country, and for their coach. A classic to be remembered for a very long time.
Yeah.
Doggy, this is one of those games that, you know, we speak of the Argentina game back in 98, I think it was. We speak of the Brazil game in 96. We speak of the England game at Germany. Wembley. This is a classic for what we've seen. 3-3. Bafana saying, Asifu, we're not going to lay down. We believe we're good enough. And the one thing that stuck out for me is South Africans feeling like they should have won that game against Algeria.
In Algeria.
In Algeria. It made me realize that we've done well with this team. Hugo's done well with this team because we've got the belief back. Your thoughts on that game? You were on TV, you were doing that game.
I don't know whether you remember one of the podcasts when I said I can see a little bit glimpse in the Bafana squad of the 96.
It was our very first one.
And people misinterpreted what I said. It's not about personnel. Clearly, Mukwena cannot be like Shoes Mushweo, but they are values that they share. And also individual brilliancy, it's out there. Remember, the first team to beat Algeria was the 1996 squad in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, AFCON quarterfinals.
And I miss a penalty there. So, and we beat Algeria 2-1.
Yeah.
And they couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
The game when I watched it, and I could tell, you know, from the players, here we're in for a good game. Now, we're looking at Algeria that came to a game with obviously a lot of expectations, Bafana, because most of their top players were interviewed, and they said, you know, they were shocked and surprised how Bafana performed. We AFCON.
Yeah.
And how we pass each other, how we combine. And they were like, unbelievable.
Because
you understand?
At AFCON, people were like, hey, who's this team? What's going on here? We play Andorra, and people are like, I'm Sambe now. So now Algeria, that's a proper test.
And I'm waiting for those guys who had a nerve of disrespecting our country before we could even kick a ball to AFCON. Because some people in Africa, they had something to say in a podcast, or was it on a social media, to say South Africa is going to have a request for a holiday.
Yeah.
That's what they were saying in Africa. But I'm not hearing anything. And now, yes, the Algeria's game, South Africa showed me flame. I thought it was going to be a one-way traffic whereby Algeria will be like at its best giving us 4-5. But that was not the case.
From the get-go.
From the get-go. I couldn't believe it. And Algeria is not an easy team to play against. They have their own problems with Mahrez didn't want to come and play in that game. And some of the two top players were not available because of injuries. But that's not an excuse. I saw a South Africa that respected the name first of the stadium, the occasion. And this is their former president, may his soul rest in peace. Those boys went out there as if Tata's voice was like in their ears. That's how I felt when we played in the final in 1996. The old man came to the hotel and he addressed us. When we were there and we couldn't even break down or penetrate Tunisia, but that voice, you kept on hearing it. Those boys, they reminded me of that situation.
And I've been to that stadium in Algiers.
In
Nelson Mandela, in Algiers, Nelson Mandela Stadium. And I can tell you now that it is such a cocoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a cocoon, such a beautiful stadium, but it's so encapsulated, and the voices of the audience is right here, of the crowd is right here. So it is a very threatening place to go.
Of course.
But we win. Let's take a look at the starting 11 that he went with.
Okay.
Because he made some changes at Hugo Bruce.
Yes.
He started with Ronald Williams, who didn't play the first game. So he comes on and he takes his captaincy. He brought back Zwane, obviously, and Mokoena, Modiba on the left, Moby, Ulu, Kekana, complete the back four. You've got Apollos who comes in to start.
Yeah.
You've got Mayambelo who comes in to start. Monara keeps his place as well here. Ikram Reyners replaces Mayo.
That's the position I was worried about. Looking at the abilities of Reyners at Stellenbosch vis-a-vis the abilities of our midfielders. Now at Stellenbosch, they play the ball into space, not fit. Now, Abu Temba, they wanted tiki-taka. And Mayambel, a little bit of that. Mokoena is one of them. And Munare is one of them. But that was not the case.
So you're worried about how Ikram Reyners is going to fit in this?
Into the yes, definitely. Okay, yes, based on how they utilize him at Stellenbosch. But that was different because he came to the party. Actually, he's the reason why we managed to dilute and dissect the Algerian midfield and defense. First half, our boys they just combine a middle lane without any fear, and that's a reason why probably second half the coach in Algeria, if you remember, he managed to change the midfielders, including the captain, and he brought in different players because this is where we were actually posing a threat. But looking at the back four that the coach went with Sia, with Grant, somehow, they were faulty, and when we have the ball, they gave us what we wanted. They initiated the build-up attack from the back. And also with Rowan, the second goal, also a goalkeeper's mistake. Yeah. So two goalkeepers actually cost us the goals. But again, with Rowan, you could tell what this is in his DNA,
because he didn't stop.
No, he didn't stop
playing the ball from the back.
That's his game.
Yeah.
Yeah, somehow, when you build up from the back, Bazun dispossess, definitely.
So out of 100
yeah.
of those passes, he gets one wrong, it's okay.
Wrong. Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So, obviously,
I mean, he made some crucial stops as well. There's a one-on-one that he falls from Yahimi.
That was in a critical phase.
Yeah.
When the Algerians were actually now attacking because of the changes that Hugo Broos made. But when you talk holistically about the first 45 minutes, I think Mshishi was on top of his game. You know, usually we say... usually we say we play as a team, but an individual makes a difference. Mshishi was that player who made a difference.
Because first goal, he does the 1-2.
The 1-2.
Beats players, passes it and says, give it back to me.
Exactly.
Second goal, just absolute brilliance and class.
Out of this world.
And mind you, left and right.
Left and
in
right.
those goals.
Yeah. So the first goal, which I'll applaud to Mokoena because he's the one who put pressure in order for us to gain possession. But then the pass to Manyambela, yenage we mastermind, because that was not just a cross, it was a pass. And he knew exactly what he was trying to do. The second point I want to bring it up. If Lepola Mesa Umshish, we had 2 or 3 players inside the box. So I'm saying entries inside the box were enough. And this is how you win games. Because Apolis was in there, Reyners was in there, Tembas one was in there, Mayambela was in there. Yeah. So it was like yellow shirts in the box. And I must applaud the wing players because this is where we actually destroyed Algeria. So, but Temba, I must say, he was so unbelievable. But again, like I said, we play as a team, but an individual makes a difference.
Oh, that second goal, Doggy, was just pure
no, it was
class.
something else. No, it was something else.
He beats a player. He comes on the right. He's only got his left to do it. I'm thinking he's going to cross it in. He's going to try beat the players. He's going to try get onto his right. But then he just curls a absolute beauty.
But did you see the cheeky pass? Lupile lapana the Nutemba yes, that's individual brilliance. But I must say that Temba was unbelievable. I'm not sure Guti how will this happen and kanjani. Ngisafuna ukubona uThemba no Tito ukuthi mabadlala boyi2 kungayenzakalani. Masongaye no Themba boyi2 badlali. But again, we can't as a nation, and again now so kunalento le ukuthi Tito is better than Themba is better. We can't do that, man. I mean, they've got their own way of doing things, and Tito is very good in a left footer, Themba with left and right. I mean, they're both unbelievable young players. And I think, I don't know, I can't wait. I want to see Mabadala Boy 2. And we have probably one of the defensive midfielders that can just protect them. Like a player like Umusele, or Mokoena for that matter, because, I'm just putting it out there.
It is the equivalent of having doctor in shoes.
Yes. Almost like that. It is. Because throughout, this is how South Africa plays. We don't, our triangle, it faces punts. But this one is facing up.
So what normally you have like a Taka or a Tinkler to...
It's a Tinkler and Linda.
Or a Linda.
And Linda.
Yeah.
And then shoes. Then sometimes it will be Tinkler, dog and shoes. So it faces down and sometimes it faces up. So I want to see it my face up with the 2 and 1 Umkwena behind them. But the game against Algeria, those boys were unbelievable, Andile. And
another notable mention.
Yeah.
Apollos. The speed on Apollos, the ability, the technical ability, the understanding. He knows where to play the ball and how to play off players like Tembazwane.
Yazo Apollos is this type of a player. You am fielder. You just hope for the best. Because he is a very calm and collected young boy. You know, he's calm. Even his game is calm. So you hope he gives me 100%, but he's not gonna give you 100%. He's gonna give 120, because being played in that position against Algeria away with a hostile crowd against you, and the surface, the pitch is wet, and that boy and Mayambela again playing with the wingers, they were so unbelievable. And Police, and he is a very smart boy, because I don't know whether you saw a shot that he rattled the top of the bar, our first chance.
Yeah.
I mean, he managed to move away from a defender in order for him to sneak it Gutaishai.
Yeah.
And that's individual brilliance. Hence, now I'm asking myself, Guti, if this kind of a performance from the entire Bafana crew, that were players that went there, vis-a-vis those we know are part of the squad, but from they were not selected.
Yeah.
Uguti, do we need to get Hugo Bruce, mhlawumbe, sponsor samapilisi for headache?
I'm going to put you in Hugo Bruce's position very quickly. Very quickly, I'm going to put you in Hugo Bruce's position.
Yeah.
Out of the players that weren't part of AFCON, who for you, I mean, let's talk about Mbanjwa, Mukwana, Mayo, Tito. Who else is there?
There's Megaman.
Mahaman, and then in the middle of defense as well.
Yes.
You know, you've got a CBC and then Musele. So when you take those players, out of these two games, we've got Nigeria coming up on the 3rd of June.
Yeah.
Big qualifier.
Yeah.
Who for you do you say, after these two games, I can't leave this one at least out?
After these two games, we have first Nigeria away, then we have Zimbabwe
on the 10th of June at home.
I would send, because the team that played the teams that played both games, I personally believe that they can do the job for the qualifiers. Because obviously going to Nigeria is going to take its toll to the players.
But going to Nigeria, Doggy, means Percy comes back, means all the players that went, and Vala comes back.
So you go for a kill.
So out of the players,
you go for a kill against Nigeria.
So the AFCON squad comes back.
Yeah, but then you've got the players that played in Andorra and Algeria that can give you
who?
You've got Mukwana, you've got a Tito, you've got Mbanjwa, Koki Sibisi.
Yeah, but remember then,
you've got those. That is why I'm saying go for a kill against in Nigeria, because it's going to be a hostile game. Then you know very well if 4 or 5 of your players come back with yellow cards or whatever.
Because Tole comes in, he comes back.
Yes.
Percy Tau comes back.
Yes.
I'm not sure what the situation is going to be for a very long time with Alao Foster, for instance.
Yes.
But the regulars, so to speak, of Bafana over the last couple of months come back, which means we can't have all of those players being absorbed into this team.
No, we will have probably 30% of them.
So then, out of these players, which 3 do you not leave behind?
At the moment, we're not too sure about Mtibi and Lyle Foster.
Yeah.
We're not too sure whether he will bring back Kutlongwane. Who else? Percy probably will bring him back. But there's...
Mahopa, he'll bring him back.
Mahopa back.
So out of these players, which 3 you can't
But you have a Reyners or Mayo that you can rope in. And you have your Mukwana that you can rope in, and Mbanjwa that you can rope in. Those players, they showed you, Guti, we're capable of doing it. So if your central defense, I'm not too sure, obviously we're not going to have Tekane because of the red card. Or is he coming back?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up for you.
Exactly. So then you still have a SBC. That was part of your team in AFCON, but now you've gained a Koki. So you balance. So you don't have to have a fear in terms of, because you can reshuffle the squad against Ilontus, Zimbabwe. And they will give you the same. What happened second half, it's exactly what happened first half. Even though it was...
change of personnel.
Yes. The first half team that played against Algeria, they gave 95%. Then the second half team, a little bit of 75% that we saw. So what more do you want?
Lastly,
Yeah.
Coach Hugo Broos, him and this national team, I feel like, and you can always tell these things because you look at goal celebrations, you know, the boys will celebrate on their way back. Temba will always look at the bench and you'll see the eye contact with the coach.
Yeah.
I feel like they are telling us that this is our man, we're playing for this man.
That has happened a long time ago, even before they could go to the AFCON. Hugo, you can tell, is a smart coach. He has an idea and a philosophy of player management.
Yeah.
If you can recall, when he came to the country, he didn't want a Tembazwane, Andile Charlies and all that. But why is it that all of a sudden the very same set player is the one that is actually playing? So that means there is something that Hugo did in that camp in order for the players to have his confidence. Yes.
He's won their confidence.
He did.
They believe in him.
Because
that means, Ntogi, you know this.
Yeah, I know.
When you've got a coach that you're not sure what they're doing, you know, it's different. When you've got a coach that you're like, hey, Lendo Diaz and Denza.
Exactly. Because remember, I have to bring a referral here. You know, when Clive took over, this is exactly what he did. He brought in a father figure. He brought in a coach mentality, a friend, a player then, and he would be able in a position to tell you, listen, go do whatever you want. God gave you the talent, do it. And I would like to believe Hugo, this is what he has done to these boys. Because for players to be able to play for you, you need to have a buy-in. They need to understand you. Angeke nje ufika uyisaga bese uthukana nama player la bese uqhamuka bazo perform never.
All right, as per usual with every one of our podcasts, we ask you to ask DNA. It's hashtag Ask DNA. Get onto the 10-bet social media pages. We are, of course, on Twitter as well as on Instagram. And you can ask us any question you want. And Doctor or I will answer those questions for you. It's the DNA podcast on 10-bet. Okay, the first question, God forbid, knock on wood, rumor has it, might have been Hugo's last game in charge of Bafana. What would we do if he does indeed leave? I'll get Doctor to answer the second part of the question. I'll answer the first.
Yeah.
Hugo Broos is not leaving. Hugo Broos is contracted till 2026 and he will remain till 2026 with Bafana. He wants to take this team to the World Cup. He wants to go back to the Africa Cup of Nations next year in Morocco. So I don't think that Hugo Broos is leaving. Furthermore, that I would add to that, I had conversations with Hugo Broos in Cote d'Ivoire. I had conversations with Hugo Broos here in South Africa when they arrived. He has no intentions to leave. Although irritated a lot by the treatment in South Africa, he has no intentions to leave. The news of him leaving does not even come from a reliable source. It doesn't. I spoke to the journalist in Tunisia who wrote that article. And I can tell you now that he heard it in a podcast somewhere. And therefore he came and wrote it. So forget about him leaving. But if he is to leave, Doc.
It's going to be a big blow because we have to start afresh and get a coach that will take over and bring his own philosophy, but rejuvenate these young players in terms of the playing style and all that. Because now there's a social factor between the player and the coach. You just alluded to the fact that a Tembazwane scores a goal, he looks at the bench. That on its own, it tells you that the players, they have an understanding, Hugo. and they believe in him.
All right, it's Q&A time. Hashtag Ask DNA. This one is from Togish. Dr. Khumalo, if you had to pick a midfield 3 with you and 2 members of the current Bafana squad, who are the 2? So, Stara 3 in the midfield. You are the one.
Yeah.
We need 2 from the current squad. What happened to one?
I Temba's one. Number 1.
Shikapana, Shishimakeke.
Yeah, Temba and Tebogo Mokoena.
Tell me why.
Tebza is a modern midfielder that he plays both defense and attack. The game has evolved. We don't need a static central midfielder that is only there to defend. But also, he got that glimpse of giving you a give and go. He's got also a dead ball situation specialist. And you can tell Uguti Magadala, he wants to win. That's the reason why Tebogo, I rate him very high. So, hence, that's why you get a Tembazwane performing like this. And one thing that is fascinating about Tebogo Mokoena, the way he plays passes into the pockets. He passes you in between of 4 or 5 defenders inside in the pocket, you know. So I'm not too sure if our viewers they understand what's playing in the pocket. But that pass, it's a firm. It's not like Iba astray or whatever. It's a go straight.
Mariza.
It's a punch, yeah. That pass, it's a pass that in a message. Uguti, I'm passing this player, Niklas, that the way you are, but when he plays it back to me, I'm going to give a killer pass, which is a champagne pass. Because he teases you in order for you to go bombard that player who's being passed. My buoya, Wisa, different direction. That's the attack. And it's always like that, even both national team and Sundowns.
And then Temba, what do you think it is about you playing with Tembazwane? What dynamic would that be?
Hey, Utemba nami kusho ukuthi ama defender mela phetha amapin. Because clearly that interchanging, because Umshishi can pass you going there with a back heel. He disguises his pass. He's the master of that.
Yeah.
So that means now you don't know Guti when he's going there, what is he gonna do next with the ball? And I'm also like that, because if I get it like that, I can just also share that champagne pass. So the midfield is over mesmerized. And ungakhohlwa ukuthi uThemba uphethe skill mara uyasifihla. Uzoqeda nangesipayithu unokushaya akugwinye kamnandi kunganamsindo. Kune video ekhona uke washaya out isipayithu yashaya ngale part.
Polokwane sithi I shall not mention names.
Oh, Mshishi, yeah. But I really enjoy playing along those 2 boys.
Imagine that. You've got Tebogo Mokoena defending, but the way he plays is not really even defending them, isn't it? In front of him, Dr. Khumalo and Tembazwane. You asked it, it's answered. It's been the DNA Podcast. Bafana up next against Nigeria and Zimbabwe on the 3rd and the 10th. We're going to be making sure that we get you updated with all those games. It's 10-bet Bafana.